REED-BBS. BBS. There's something to be said for Sunday evening entertainment, particularly when there's no NFL, no NBA. So fuck it. I checked out the Jake Paul, Tyron Woodley card. Clown fight, circus fight, call it what you will. But Jake Paul sells himself, man, and he fights frequently. In that way, legit boxers can learn a thing or three from him. Again, he fights frequently, he sells himself. Give the fans what they want, hype it accordingly, and they will come. And in the case of Jake Paul, 16,000 asses packed Cleveland Cavaliers Stadium for this shit. Ultimately, don't hate the player, hate the game. As Jay-Z said, you can't knock the hustle, because you can't knock the hustle. You can't knock it, man. With that said, Jake Paul got exposed. He got exposed. The smaller, 15 years older Tyron Woodley, the Guillermo Rigondeaux of MMA, and that's not a compliment, but he exposed Jake Paul. I call Woodley the Guillermo Rigondeaux of MMA because in the case of Robbie Lawler, his fights with Robbie Lawler and his first fight with Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, they attacked Woodley and Woodley unleashed. But just like Rigondeaux, Woodley, he needed his opponents to engage to make for entertaining fights, which is why him and Dana White were always at odds, because Woodley would just kind of lay back, wait for the action to come to him, and oftentimes they wouldn't, or it wouldn't. So by the time Kamaru Usman and Gilbert Burns and bitch-ass Colby Covington beat Woodley, attacked Woodley, Tyron Woodley couldn't pull the trigger any fucking more. He was basically a shot athlete. And that's who Jake Paul handpicked. That's who Jake Paul handpicked for this bout. He damn sure didn't handpick Woodley to go 8 rounds and eke out a split decision either. But that's exactly what had happened. Yeah, Paul won. He won the fight. He's clearly put in more work into boxing. Woodley was a good MMA striker with 12 amateur boxing matches, allegedly. I mean, did he win any of the 12? Was he 3-9? Was he 5-7? What was his record in these 12 alleged amateur boxing matches? We still don't know. What we do know is this particular fight spawned from Woodley working Ben Askren's corner, specifically being in Paul's dressing room as he got his hands wrapped to face Ben Askren. And from there, the shit talk ensued. But yeah, the smaller 39-year-old Tyron Woodley, he stalked and walked down the bigger 24-year-old Paul. In that way, it was similar to Floyd versus Jake's big bro, Logan. But again, Woodley couldn't pull the trigger enough. Ultimately, he couldn't pull the trigger enough. Now, he did hurt Jake in the 4th round, I believe. And a knockdown should have been scored, because the ropes held Paul up after a shot, as you can clearly see. I'm posting it right now for you. It's never a good visual when the bigger man is doing most of the moving and the holding. But that's what this fight was. That's what it was. So again, the problem child, Jake Paul, he had problems with Tyron Woodley. And that does not, I repeat, does not bode well for the remainder of Jake Paul's so-called boxing career. In the build-up, they called Paul boxing's most polarizing figure. Well, he was exposed. He won, but he was exposed. He said afterwards, "Oh, my legs felt weird in the fight." Yeah, because your dumbass was jumping rope minutes before walking to the ring to fight, bruh. Like, what the fuck was that? I don't even know. They're talking Tommy Fury. He's like one of Tyson Fury's cousins, nephews. I don't know. Tommy Fury. He was on a reality show and shit. He's had a handful of fights. He was on the undercard. He's rumored to be next. There's Nate Diaz out there, Jorge Masvidal. But strangely, Jake, in the post-fight interview, he said he wanted to chill out, get his teeth and his hair fixed. Why? because he got exposed for the first time. This wasn't Nate Robinson. This wasn't Anderson Gibb. This wasn't Ben Askren. He was in there, not even with a real boxer, but with a real fighter, and he didn't like what he felt. So, yeah, I'm standing by what I said. The man won. I'm not knocking his hustle, but he got exposed. REED-BBS, BBS. Black Bert Sugar, Bachelor's in Boxing Studies. Television, Fred Sanford of the Fistic Arts. When all is said and done, there's nothing left to say or do.